Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Anna, in Lisbon with the energy of the, boy, we're on the last slide here, guys. Always happens, right? They're checking to make sure I'm awake and not jet lagged. I'm awake. All right. So look, it's a real pleasure to be here. I love the energy of Web Summit. Awesome job, Patty and the Web Summit crew. It's a real pleasure to be here. So just a little bit about me. I've been in the data business for 20 plus years. Had one IPO. We're working on SnapLogic, hoping to build that. A few words about SnapLogic. What we do at SnapLogic is we connect applications, whether they're SaaS, on-premise, or cloud. We connect data, whether it's SaaS, on-premise, or cloud, for large corporations. You know, the European analogy is SnapLogic is like Switzerland. We're a small country between giants, and we do that job, and we do it well. And I noticed that Patty and the Web Summit team has put me in the middle of VMware and Amazon. So, nice work, Web Summit. Nice work. Anyway, so on to the talk. So look, this is a very exciting time to be in technology, to be in Amazon, to be in the cloud. As you saw from Werner, lots of innovations going on at Amazon, lots of innovations going on everywhere. You know, it's almost like there's too much going on, and the pace of change is continuing to increase. Since the time we handed over these slides, which was on Friday, on Monday, we had an announcement that Google and Salesforce are going to partner on the cloud and do things together, and so on and so on. So there's some big forces at work, some big companies duking it out to dominate the cloud. Who are these people? One you heard from. Werner spoke eloquently about some of the things they're doing. And we look at this, when I was asked to give this talk, I looked at it and said, look, I'm going to focus in on what the engineering teams call hyperscale. Very, very large public cloud providers. Not the SaaS companies themselves. You'll find every example I use, there's dozens of SaaS that are being utilized. But I wanted to focus in on hypercloud, on the big three, which are Amazon, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. It's a three-horse race, by and large. And look, every horse is a winner in some way, shape, or form. Some of them have enormous market leadership from being there first, like Amazon. Their business is growing very well. It's a $16 billion business. Lots of innovation on technology. You know, they provide perhaps the largest footprint, have tremendous data centers across the globe. Very good choice for very many people. And lots of services. Lots of services. They have a philosophy that they like to keep their teams small. If the team can have one pizza, great. One pizza, one team, one service. They buy a lot of pizza. So Amazon's strength is there. Microsoft, very strong with the on-premise Office 365 linkage, doing some wonderful work there. And Google, with the secret sauce of Google now available to all of us, they also have done some amazing innovations on artificial intelligence. We love what they're doing with TensorFlow. We think it is a true innovation all the way from software to silicon. So I was asked to give this talk on a multi-cloud strategy, and I thought to myself, a reasonable person would ask the question, why should you? Why should you have a multi-cloud strategy? Just buy one. And you know, when I looked around for people who had just picked one, I couldn't find any. So the truth is, there's a number of reasons why companies embrace multi-cloud strategies. In addition to the innovations in technology and economics, pricing, the availability of reserve instances, you have to put money up front, now you don't. All these things conspire to make you have to think hard about this. There's a number of other issues. Swiss data must stay in Switzerland. There's issues about disaster recovery. Do you want to put everything into one cloud? What if there's a failure? Do you want to have two clouds, one for disaster recovery? And then data gravity. You know, sometimes if your application data is in the cloud, you need to put if your data's in the cloud, you need to put your application logic close to the data in that cloud. So a number of reasons why multi-cloud just seems to make sense. So let me share a couple of examples with you. I wanted to focus in some of the European customers that we have And I asked them what they're doing on a multi-cloud strategy, and each of them were kind enough to share their ideas. So first, AstraZeneca is a $23 billion UK-headquartered pharmaceutical company, number 7 on the FTSE index. They're using clouds in multiple ways. Had a long chat with a customer, Dave Smalley, the CIO there, who's doing a lot of innovation. He said, look, we have dozens of SaaS applications on the IT side, dozens of SaaS applications, Salesforce, yada, yada, yada. Similarly, dozens on the marketing side. But on the cloud side, there's a number of things that they're doing using different providers. They do a lot of research on new molecules. They have 137 drugs in the pipeline. It's on their website. It's not confidential. They invent new medicines. And those research are being done on premise in high-performance virtualized environments. You'll hear from Pat next about VMware and what they do. And then they burst them out to Amazon as needed. And they use that very extensively. Some research groups on the genomics area use Google Cloud. In the front office, some people use Azure because they have Office 365, those kinds of applications. And some are even using a variety of sort of Salesforce, Force.com cloud because they're pulling data from sales and marketing, and it sits in Salesforce, so it makes sense to use Force.com and those kind of clouds. Here's another case study. For those of you who watch football, as I tell my children, it's not soccer, it's football. You know this logo. Very similarly, dozens of SaaS applications in multiple departments, but in the heavy cloud usage, a big bet on Azure. A big bet on a digital transformation for checking out the customer's journey through various Emirates systems, and a big bet on Azure, Azure Data Lake, etc. Usage of Google Cloud for some applications that are very compute intensive, and in their case, they're using GE's Perdix Internet of Things cloud as well. Very similar story. Schneider is a behemoth in Europe, headquartered out of Paris, France. They're using cloud in a number of ways. They've done something that I hadn't seen done before. They have a dedicated group to a cloud center of excellence. And they told me, look, we have so much changing on pricing and technology that we need to have a center of excellence, a group of super talented people who do nothing but track all the changes in the cloud, and then we can more wisely use our technology. Their big bets are on AWS for some of the high-performance work. They not only are a provider of various technologies, power management, etc., they're also moving to providing a SaaS application to their customers. So say someone at Marriott Hotels has given them the order to manage all the electricity for that hotel, which is what they typically do. They now also have a SaaS application with the Internet of Things element to it, and that SaaS application is running on Microsoft Azure. And they're using Microsoft's Cortana artificial intelligence set to provide value added back to their customers and also to create new revenue for themselves. And last but not least, they've discovered that in certain geographies like China, it makes sense to use the Alibaba cloud. So in China, they use the Ali cloud. So yet again, an example of someone who is utilizing multiple, if you would, cloud technologies and doing a very good job of bringing it together. So, as I thought through all this, and I was on the plane, my body's somewhere at 2 a.m. in California, thinking through this and thinking, look, these are examples that make a lot of sense for large enterprises. But what you see at Web Summit is a number of people who are entrepreneurs like me, people who are starting their journey and building out their companies, and just the energy in the halls here is just tremendous to see. And I thought to myself, what's in it for them? They're not a $20 billion business. They're not listed on the stock exchange, although they should be. Hopefully they will be. So what's in it for them? What is their takeaway from this presentation? And then I realized that the multiple cloud vendors who are competing have a barbell strategy. On the one end, they're paying a lot of attention to enterprise because that's where a lot of money is. On the other end, they're paying a lot of attention to startups because that's how you find and get young companies that bet on your platform And there are so many incentives provided to startups by all of these. And then I thought to myself, what's true for large companies is also very, very true for startups. Knowing the multiple cloud choices ahead of you, knowing that some of the discounting that you might get as an incubator, if you are successful, which we hope you are, and blessed, we hope you are, and you succeed, you need to know the implications of that should you go from being a startup and having all this, one on the house, two on the house incentive to actually scaling up and building your company. How do you do them both at the same time? And I think this is very important for people to know. Very important for people to know. And I was thinking about it and saying, so how should people track this? Now again, this may require a lot of talent, a lot of compute that typically startups don't have that kind of IT staff. And I thought to myself, it's sort of time to kind of really let out this sort of open secret. Cloud providers are always looking to find ways to give more value back to their customers. And they therefore can get more revenue to themselves. And what they're doing under the covers, and if you have a browser, you can make your way to the University of California, Berkeley's RISE, R-I-S-E lab, which has a lot of machine learning algorithms. Under the covers, they're using artificial intelligence and machine learning to dynamically provide new capabilities by looking at the patterns of their customers' usage. So it struck me that a very good idea for everybody who wants to be doing this to do is to think of using machine learning to figure out how their applications are performing in the cloud. To be able to use machine learning to figure out how their data is performing in the cloud. And as you start to use those same algorithms and you apply them to perhaps one or two clouds, you develop a core competence in how you can do pattern recognition using cloud computing yourself. Again, this may not apply to a startup situation, but I'm here to tell you that for any large business, the big shift in computing, and which is one of the reasons that you not only lift and shift your applications to the cloud, but you also have the opportunity to do application capabilities in a completely new way using AI, using machine learning algorithms, many of which are excellent and widely available from academic institutions in the US and in Europe. But you have a chance, if you're a large business, to be able to use this as a test case to build competency in what are the patterns that your customers are using. What is your customer transformation using artificial intelligence and machine learning? How can you discover patterns of what your customers are doing? You can apply some of that same capability into figuring out what are the patterns that your partners, your employees are doing. What are some, look, every company has customers and employees. Somebody might make aeroplanes, somebody might make drugs, somebody might manufacture elevators and power plants, but every company has customers, every company has employees. So if you start to apply some of these cloud principles into your own digital transformation, it struck me that you would be in very good shape to be able to then have this competence in your company and use it in ways that you may not have thought about. So I think machine learning was good for the goose, is good for the gander, and it's a heck of a good application to figure out a multi-cloud strategy as well, and keep on top of all the dynamism and the pricing that's going on. So boy, I was on this slide. Okay, my bad. And we will now go to the last slide. So look, it's a courtesy to be able to wrap up on time. So as I wrap up my presentation, in summary, I want to point out to you that there are massive innovations going on in the world of cloud computing. Those innovations are necessary because people compete, people want to get to be number one in this hundreds of billions of dollar business. Some of them are very large already in the tens of billions of dollar size. Those innovations create a lot of change, a lot of opportunity for you. So we believe a multi-cloud strategy, by the way, everybody we talk to is using multiple clouds in multiple ways, is a very good way to go. And I hope my talk here has helped convince you of that, and that it puts you in the driver's seat as you think of a cloud strategy. Thank you very much. See you on the internet.